"Can I pay later?" The words were no louder than a breath, but they froze the air around the register. The barista blinked, unsure if she'd heard correctly. In front of her stood a little black girl, Anna, wrapped in a threadbare coat, her boots soaked through at the toes, hands trembling as she held out a crumpled dollar bill and 3 nickels. She was tiny, but her eyes held the weight of someone much older. "My sister's hungry," Anna whispered. "She hasn't eaten since last night. She's sick. I'll bring the money tomorrow, I promise." The line behind her grew restless. People shifted, murmured. A well-dressed woman behind her scoffed. "Another one of those kids." A boy standing near the counter scrunched his nose and stepped away from her. "Ew, get away from me. You smell like a trash can." Anna flinched. The barista hesitated, glanced over at the manager who was already walking over, her heels tapping hard against the floor. "What's going on here?" the manager asked sharply. "She doesn't have enough money," the barista said, her voice low. Anna looked up, hopeful. "I'll pay later, I promise. My sister's sick." The manager didn't even blink. "You think this is a charity?" Anna shrank back. "Out," the manager snapped. "You're holding up paying customers. You can't be here if you can't pay." "Please, just this once," Anna started. "Out," the manager shouted, loud enough to turn every head in the bakery. A heavy silence fell over the room. From the corner near the window, Ethan Brooks stood. He had watched the entire thing unfold. The plea, the humiliation, the shame. Now he stepped forward, slow and steady, his voice calm but razor sharp. "I'll pay for her food." The manager spun around. "Sir, she's a child," Ethan said. He pulled a $100 bill from his wallet and placed it on the counter. "And she asked for help. Ring up what she wants. Add something warm." And in a world where so many walk past, one man chose to care. If this moment touched your heart, don't scroll away just yet. Let us know in the comments, what would you have done if you were there? Tap the like button if you believe kindness still matters. Share your thoughts below, and if stories like this remind you of the power of empathy, consider subscribing. There's more to come, and every voice, including yours, matters here. No one spoke. Anna looked at him, wide-eyed, her fingers still clutching the crumpled dollar. "You didn't do anything wrong," Ethan said, his tone gentler. "You don't need to leave." The barista quickly grabbed a warm muffin, a sandwich, and a cup of hot cocoa. She handed the bag to Anna, avoiding eye contact. "Thank you," Anna whispered, her voice barely audible. "You're welcome," Ethan said. "Take care of your sister." She nodded shyly, clutching the bag like it held the world, and walked out of the bakery. Ethan turned to the people in line, his gaze unwavering. "Next time you see someone ask for food, maybe ask why before you look away." Nobody met his eyes. Ethan followed Anna out. The street was gray and bitter cold, wind slicing through the air like razors. He spotted her turning down a side street, her small frame disappearing into the crowd. He trailed her 5 blocks through Brooklyn's cracked sidewalks, past empty lots and shuttered storefronts. She stopped at a decaying building near the Riverside projects. He stayed across the street. Anna looked back, saw him, hesitated, but didn't run. She entered the building and vanished behind the heavy door. Ethan stood there a moment longer, watching. A crash sounded from above. He reached for his phone. "Sharon," he said, "I need a name. Girl named Anna, black, about 8. Lives near Riverside. Quietly run it." "No last name?" his assistant asked. "Not yet." A man nearby spoke up. "She ain't yours, rich boy." Ethan turned, calm. "Maybe not, but someone has to care." The man scoffed and walked off. Ethan looked back at the 3rd-floor window. He remembered when he was a boy, cold, hungry, ignored. He didn't forget. And today, he wouldn't walk away. Ethan came back the next morning. He didn't sleep well. He hadn't for years, but last night was different. It wasn't the usual corporate reports or market forecasts keeping him up. It was the image of Anna's small hands, the sound of the register bell clanging after she was yelled at, the quiet bravery in her voice. The bakery was just opening when he passed by again, but he didn't go in. He walked the same route Anna had taken the day before, past the cracked sidewalks, through the rust-colored gate, to the old Riverside apartment building. The place looked like it hadn't been repaired since the 80s. Someone had tagged the entry door with blue spray paint, "We survive." He buzzed random buttons until a tired voice eventually let him in. The hallway smelled like dust and damp carpet. He climbed slowly, trying not to draw attention. 3rd floor, apartment 3C. He stood there for a moment, then knocked soft at first. No response. He tried again, firmer this time. A muffled voice came from inside, then footsteps, then silence. Finally, the door opened just a crack, the chain still latched. Anna's face appeared, eyes wary. "You," she said, barely above a whisper. "Hi," Ethan replied, voice gentle. "I wanted to check on you, and your sister." Anna hesitated. "Why? I told you yesterday I grew up like this. Maybe worse. When someone helped me, I didn't know how to accept it either." She looked him over, then glanced behind her. "She's still sleeping. Oh, can I just bring some food? Maybe talk for a minute?" Anna closed the door. Ethan heard the chain slide. Then the door creaked open again, this time wider. He stepped inside and paused. The apartment was dim, the shades drawn, letting in slivers of gray light. The heater in the corner buzzed weakly. On the floor, under a pile of blankets, lay a smaller girl, maybe 4. Curled tightly, her cheeks were flushed. "That's Emmy," Anna said softly. Ethan nodded. "She doesn't look good." I gave her some of the cocoa," Anna said, her voice small. "She liked it." He kneeled beside the girl, careful not to scare her. "She's burning up," he said, worry tightening in his chest. "She needs to see a doctor." Anna stiffened. "They won't take us. I tried. They said no insurance, no appointment." "Do you know her last name?" "Carter," she said. Ethan froze. He looked at her slowly. "Carter?" She nodded. "What about your dad?" he asked. Anna didn't respond. "Is he around?" She shook her head. "He comes sometimes. Not often. Not when Emmy's sick. He just yells." Ethan took a breath. The name Carter had rattled him. His mother's maiden name was Carter. He stood. "Listen, can I take Emmy to a clinic? Just to check her fever. I know people. I'll cover the cost." Anna hesitated, arms crossed tightly over her chest. "You don't have to trust me," Ethan added. "But I won't stop worrying about her if I walk away." She looked down at her sister, then back up. Slowly, she nodded. Ethan called a driver, gave the clinic address. While they waited, he made a quick call to his assistant. "Sharon, find everything you can on an Anna Carter, 8 years old, living in Riverside Projects, and look into family connections, especially anything related to Logan Carter." He hung up before Sharon could ask questions. 20 minutes later, his car pulled up. Anna clutched Emmy tightly in her lap as they rode in silence. The clinic was a private, one clean, bright, tucked between a cafe and a bookstore. No one looked twice when Ethan walked in. That's the kind of place it was, built for quiet wealth. The nurse took Emmy inside. Anna sat in the waiting room, silent, knees bouncing. Ethan watched her for a long moment. "You're strong, you know," he said. "Most kids would have cried and run yesterday." Anna didn't look at him. "Crying doesn't help." "No," he agreed. "But sometimes it's okay." She turned to him. "Why do you care?" Ethan leaned back. "I ask myself that every time I see someone like you." "Like me?" "Yeah, brave, tired, carrying more than they should." Anna blinked. The nurse came out. "She's got a virus and mild dehydration," she said. "We've given her fluids, some meds. She should rest. But she'll be okay." Anna exhaled like she hadn't taken a full breath in days. Ethan smiled. "I'll take you both home," he said. They returned to the apartment as the sun began to break through the clouds, casting faint light across the city's cold bones. Before he left, Ethan knelt beside Emmy and tucked her blanket tighter. "You girls need anything," he said to Anna. "You call me." He left a card on the table, just his first name, a number. Anna stared at it. "Are you famous or something?" she asked. Ethan chuckled. "I'm just a man who doesn't forget where he came from." As he stepped out, he heard her voice behind him. "Thank you, Mr. Ethan." He stopped at the door. "You're welcome, Anna." But in his chest, something had already started to ache deep and familiar, because he knew the name Carter too well. And he knew that this was just the beginning. Ethan didn't drive straight back to Manhattan after leaving Anna's apartment. Instead, he told his driver to head toward the East River, a place he hadn't been in over a decade. His mind raced, his heart unsettled. The name Carter echoed louder, now not just as a coincidence, but as a possibility he didn't dare fully consider. The streets rolled by as his phone buzzed. It was Sharon. "I pulled the public records on Anna Carter," she said. "Born in Brooklyn, age 8. No mother listed on the birth certificate. Father's name is Logan Carter." Ethan's throat tightened. "Logan Carter," he repeated. "Yes," Sharon said. "That's not all. Logan's been in and out of the system. Drug possession, minor assaults, no stable employment. Last known address, same as Anna's." Ethan's fingers curled into a fist. "And the mother? Dead. Overdose. About 5 years ago." Silence filled the car. The hum of the road, the soft rattle of loose change in the cup holder, everything felt distant. "Anything else?" Ethan asked finally. Sharon hesitated. "Logan Carter is your brother." Ethan closed his eyes. "I thought he left the state," he muttered. "I thought he was gone," Sharon finished. "He was, until about a year ago. Then he showed up again, but he's been laying low." Ethan stared out the window as the city passed. His brother. After everything, he remembered the last time he saw Logan screaming, fists flying, the sound of glass shattering across their small kitchen floor. They were teenagers. Back then, Logan had always run hot, violent, impulsive, broken in a way Ethan could never fix. When Ethan got a scholarship and left, Logan vanished into the streets. The promise was that they'd never cross paths again. But now, Anna, she wasn't just some girl. She was his niece. He returned to the bakery that afternoon not for coffee, not for comfort, but for confrontation. The same barista was there. She looked up, eyes wide. "Siri didn't mean to." "I'm not here for apologies," Ethan said calmly. "I need to know what you remember about that little girl from yesterday." She fidgeted. "I mean, not much. She comes by sometimes. Always alone. Never causes trouble. But she's, you know, one of those kids." "One of what kids?" Ethan asked sharply. The barista faltered. "I mean, she's always quiet, kinda sad, dirty, poor. Do you know if she ever talks to anyone here, besides asking for food?" "Number never." Ethan nodded and turned to leave. As he stepped outside, his phone buzzed again. Another call. Unknown number. He answered. "Ethan Brooks." Silence on the line. Then a man's voice, slurred but low and threatening. "You think you can just swoop in and take what's mine?" Ethan didn't respond. The voice continued. "You don't get to play hero, Ethan. Not this time. Not with my kid." It was Logan. Ethan's jaw locked. "You abandoned her." "She's still mine," Logan hissed. "You don't get to rewrite the story just because you made it big. Where were you when she needed food? Medicine?" "I told you," Logan said. "This ain't your business." Ethan's voice dropped. "She's my family." "Back off, Ethan," Logan growled. "Or next time, I won't call. I'll show up." The line went dead. Ethan stood frozen in front of the bakery, his heart pounding not in fear, but in fury. This wasn't over. That night, he returned to the Riverside complex with a grocery bag in hand. He knocked on 3C, waited. Anna opened the door slowly, blinking up at him. "Hey," he said softly. "I brought some things." She stepped aside. He entered, set the bag down: cereal, juice, canned soup, medicine, even a pack of crayons. Emmy was sleeping again, her breathing easier. "I need to ask you something," Ethan said, kneeling to her level. Anna sat on the floor, legs crossed. She watched him carefully. "Do you remember your dad?" Her eyes clouded. "He used to come more, but he yells, he breaks things, he smells bad sometimes. Has he been here recently?" Anna nodded slowly. "A few nights ago." "He knocked real loud." I didn't answer. He left. "Good girl," Ethan whispered. "If he comes back, don't open the door." She looked down. "Are you scared of him?" Ethan smiled sadly. "Number, but I know what he's capable of." She blinked. "Do you know him?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, I do." Are you my uncle?" Ethan's breath caught. Anna looked at him, not accusing, not even surprised, just curious. Like deep down, she'd always known something was missing. "I think I am," he said. She didn't say anything. She just nodded once, slowly, then crawled closer and leaned her small head against his shoulder. "I want to stay here," she said. Ethan put his arm around her. "I'm going to make sure you're safe," he whispered. Outside, the wind howled through the broken window panes, and across town, somewhere in the dark, Logan Carter lit a cigarette with shaking hands. He had made his first move, but Ethan was ready. The next morning, Ethan stood at the edge of a glass-paneled conference room high above Manhattan, surrounded by men in suits and women with tablets. On any other day, this was his kingdom data projections, quarterly reports, billion-dollar deals. But today, he couldn't focus. His thoughts were trapped in a small apartment in Brooklyn, with a sick child, a brave little girl, and a name from his past that had come back like a splinter under skin. He excused himself mid-presentation. "Gentlemen, I need to step away. Handle the Q&A without me." As he walked out, Sharon fell into step beside him. "You okay?" she asked. "Not even close," Ethan muttered. "Logan called me." Sharon's face tightened. "Did he threaten you?" "He made it clear he's watching. I want full surveillance on that building. I want to know if he gets within 20 feet of 3C. "I'll handle it," Sharon said, "but there's something else you should see." She handed him a printed report. Foster care alerts, police reports, Child Protective Services complaints. Anna and Emmy had both been flagged before neglect, domestic incidents, missed school, but the system had let them fall through every crack. "No one stepped in?" Ethan asked, his voice sharp. "Not yet," Sharon said. "They're overwhelmed. Thousands of cases." "They're not numbers," Ethan snapped. "They're girls. One of them my niece." He stopped at the elevator. "Make it happen," he said. "Lawyers, paperwork. I want custody options on my desk by tomorrow." Back in Brooklyn, Anna was sitting by the window, tracing shapes into the fogged glass. Emmy, wrapped in a quilt, watched cartoons from the mattress on the floor. Anna turned suddenly. "Mr. Ethan, do you have a family?" Ethan blinked, caught off guard by the question. "I did," he said carefully. "My mom passed when I was your age. My dad wasn't much around. And Logan your daddy was my older brother." "Did you guys fight?" she asked. "All the time," Ethan admitted. "He was angry at everything. I tried to help him, but eventually, I had to leave." Anna looked down. "He scares me." "I know," Ethan said softly, "and I'm going to make sure he can't scare you anymore." There was a knock at the door. Anna jumped. Ethan stood up, motioning for her to stay back. He opened the door slowly. A woman in her 60s stood in the hallway, with silver hair pulled tight into a bun. Her coat was pressed, her purse polished. "Are you Mr. Brooks?" she asked. "Yes. I'm Margaret Holloway, Child Protective Services." Anna stepped into view. Her eyes flicked nervously between Ethan and the woman. "I got a call," Holloway said, "from an anonymous source. Say 2 minors were in danger." Ethan stepped aside. "Come in." Holloway scanned the room quickly. No heat, 1 bed, minimal food. She crouched beside Emmy. "She's sick," Anna said quickly. "But we got her medicine." Holloway nodded slowly. "And where are your parents, Anna?" "My mom's gone," Anna said. "And my dad. I don't want to see him." "She's telling the truth," Ethan said. "Her father is Logan Carter." Holloway's face darkened. "I remember that name. He's unstable, dangerous. I'm filing for emergency guardianship." "Do you have legal grounds?" Holloway asked, standing. "I'm her uncle. I can prove it." Anna stepped forward. "Please don't take us away." "I'm not here to scare you, sweetheart," Holloway said gently. "But we have to follow the law." Ethan pulled out a folder from his briefcase. "Birth records. DNA test I ran last year, when I suspected Logan had a child. I never imagined it would be this." Holloway skimmed the documents. "This helps," she admitted, "but it'll take time." "Then I'll buy time," Ethan said. "I'm not letting them go back into the system." Outside, across the street, a man in a black hoodie stood leaning against a lamppost, watching, smoking. His eyes narrowed when he saw Holloway enter. Logan Carter hadn't come to talk. He'd come to see who was interfering. That night, as Anna and Emmy slept, Ethan stood at the window, staring into the darkness. The city shimmered below like a broken mirror, each light a story. But in this building, in this room, He felt something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. His phone buzzed. A new message. You've made your move. Mine's next. No name. Just the warning. He turned to look at the girls, peaceful in sleep, unaware that war had already been declared. And Ethan Brooks, billionaire investor, former runaway, now uncle and guardian, was ready to fight like hell. The hallway outside apartment 3C reeked of cigarette smoke. Ethan stepped out into the dimly lit corridor, narrowing his eyes as he scanned both ends. The scent was fresh, bitter, curling through the air like a warning. He glanced toward the far stairwell. The door was closing softly, slowly, like someone had slipped through just seconds before. He didn't chase. Not yet. Instead, he turned back into the apartment and locked the door behind him. Anna and Emmy were still asleep on the mattress, curled like kittens in the worn blanket he had brought the day before. Ethan walked to the small kitchen table, really just a card table with uneven leg sand, picked up the phone. "Sharon," he said when she answered, even though it was barely 6 a.m. He was here. "You're sure it was Logan? He was watching from across the street yesterday, and he came up to the 3rd floor last night. He didn't knock, just wanted me to know." There was a pause. "Should I alert the security team?" "Yes. Post someone on this floor quietly. I don't want to scare the girls. I'll send them in unmarked vehicles. Plain clothes. You got it." He hung up, then rubbed his face with both hands. He hadn't shaved. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, but his mind was razor sharp. He'd survived worse in boardrooms, in courtrooms, and long ago in bedrooms that smelled of spilled beer and broken promises. Logan was moving, but Ethan would stay a step ahead. Later that morning, Anna stirred awake. She rubbed her eyes and sat up slowly, blinking toward the window. "It's brighter today," she said. "It is," Ethan replied. "You hungry?" She nodded. He handed her a bowl of oatmeal he'd made on the old stovetop, stirring in honey from a packet he'd found in the bottom of a bag. "We've got more groceries coming. Did you sleep here?" "I stayed close," he said. "Didn't want to leave you alone." Anna gave him a shy smile. "You're nicer than most grown-ups." He smiled faintly. That shouldn't be rare. Suddenly, there was a knock, 3 firm raps. Ethan stood, tensing. He approached the door cautiously and looked through the peephole. It wasn't Logan. It was an older woman in a denim jacket with the sleeves rolled up. Her eyes were sharp, her stance confident. "Ethan Brooks?" she called through the door. "I'm Detective Raquel DeWitt, Nye PD. Mind if we talk?" Ethan opened the door. "Come in." She stepped inside, her eyes scanning the apartment quickly before settling on the girls. "They're okay?" she asked quietly. "They are now," Ethan said. DeWitt nodded. "We got a tip from a neighbor. Someone matching Logan Carter's description was seen loitering here last night. I've got patrols circling the block." "Thank you." "I pulled Logan's file," she continued. "He's spiraled worse than we thought. Domestic violence reports, restraining orders, a recent assault on a social worker upstate. He's not just unstable, he's escalating." Anna listened silently from the floor. Spoon paused in her bowl. Ethan noticed and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "What are my options?" he asked. "You've got emergency guardianship in process," DeWitt said. "But it won't mean much if Logan contests ITAND. He might. He's got just enough legal claim to delay everything, drag it out." I'm not going to let him near these girls," Ethan said. "Then we need proof," DeWitt said. "Of neglect, of abuse, anything. Enough to make sure a judge sees what he really is." Ethan's jaw tensed. "Then we find it." The detective handed him her card. "Keep in touch. And Ethan, don't try to confront him alone." After she left, Anna asked, "Is he coming back?" Ethan knelt down beside her. "Maybe. But if he does, I'll be here. And so will the police." She hesitated, then asked, "Was he always like this?" Ethan looked toward the window. "He wasn't born that way. But somewhere along the line, he made choices. Hurt people. And then just kept going." He stood and walked to the window, looking down at the street. A black car was parked at the corner, engine idling. Plainclothes officers. Good. Back inside, Ethan's phone buzzed. It was a photo, a grainy shot of Anna and Emmy through the bakery window, time-stamped 2 days ago. Another text followed. "You think you're the only one watching?" Ethan's blood chilled. He stared at the screen, then tapped a response. You come near them again, and I will end this in ways you can't imagine. He hit send, then deleted the thread. He wouldn't let Anna see it. That afternoon, Anna drew pictures on printer paper Ethan had brought from his office. She handed him one stick figure standing under a big sun, one labeled Anna, one Emmy, and the tallest one holding both their hands. It was labeled Uncle Ethan. He stared at it for a long time. Then he folded it carefully and placed it into his wallet right behind his driver's license, where his father's photo used to be. Logan had chosen fear. Ethan was choosing love, and that choice was about to cost them both everything. The wind picked up after dark, howling through the riverside alleyways like a wild dog searching for shelter. Inside apartment 3C, the radiator rattled and hissed, casting a weak warmth into the cramped space. Ethan sat on the edge of the old recliner, flipping through a file Sharon had dropped off earlier school records, medical charts, CPS visits, the paper trail of 2 forgotten lives. Anna had fallen asleep next to Emmy again, their arms looped together in instinctive protection. Even in sleep, Anna's brow furrowed. Ethan glanced at the paper she'd colored earlier, the one where he stood between her and the world, and gently tucked it back into his wallet. He would carry that picture with him for the rest of his life. The time read 11:47 p.m. The street outside had gone quiet. Too quiet. Then came the knock. 3 slow, deliberate raps at the door. Not urgent, not afraid, like the hand on the other side already knew it held power. Ethan stood, his body stiffening. He walked to the door and checked the peephole. It was Logan. He wore a dark hoodie pulled low over his forehead, eyes bloodshot, jaw clenched. He wasn't high knot now. He was focused, and that made him even more dangerous. Ethan opened the door just a crack, the chain still on. You shouldn't be here, he said. Logan smirked. But I am. He leaned into the frame, and for a moment, Ethan caught the stench of stale smoke and alcohol. You've made your point, Ethan said. Now leave before I call the police. Call whoever you want, Logan said. You think I care about cops? They can't erase blood. You think some money and a fancy suit makes you their dad now? I don't have to be their dad, Ethan replied coldly, but I'll sure as hell be better than you ever were. Logan's eyes flared. You always thought you were better. Since we were kids, always pretending you had it harder. I had to carry the beatings. You got the scholarships. Ethan stepped forward, unchaining the door but not opening it yet. You had choices, Logan. You chose fists. You chose silence when Emmy cried. You chose to disappear when Anna begged. Logan pounded the door with his palm. They're my kids. No, they're not, Ethan said. Not anymore. For a moment, neither man moved. Then Logan's voice dropped, venomous. You're gonna regret this, little brother. He stepped back and disappeared down the stairwell. Ethan waited, heart pounding, then locked the door, bolted it, slid a chair beneath the handle. He turned to find Anna sitting up on the mattress, eyes wide. You heard? He asked. She nodded. Was that him? Yes. Is he coming back? Ethan crossed the room, crouched beside her. He's scared now. He knows I won't back down. And I won't let him hurt you. Ever. Anna stared at the door. He used to sing to Emmy when she was little. But then he stopped. And then he yelled. And then it disappeared. Ethan's voice was low. People show you who they are, Anna. Your father showed us. Now we protect each other. She nodded slowly and leaned into him, resting her forehead against his shoulder. They stayed that way until the radiator clicked again. The next morning, Sharon arrived with legal documents. Emergency guardianship had been filed. The first hearing was in 5 days. He's going to fight it, she warned. He already has a lawyer, some shady defense type, but he's building a case. What's he using? Ethan asked. Biological connection. Claims he was kept from the girls. Says you're using your wealth to manipulate the system. Ethan laughed bitterly. Manipulate the system? The system forgot those girls existed. He's also trying to drag your name, Sharon added. Dredging up old family stuff. Foster home records. Juvenile incident you had in '92. Ethan looked at her. That fight in the group home? Yeah. He's painting it as a pattern. Ethan's face darkened. We'll fight truth with truth. That night, DeWitt returned. I've got a guy on Logan, she said. He's couch surfing, staying off grid. But he's trying to stir up the neighborhood. Told folks you're the bad guy. That you're here to steal what's his. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. Let him talk. I'm not backing down. DeWitt's voice softened. You're not just fighting for custody anymore, Ethan. You're fighting for their safety. If you need a safe house. No, Ethan said firmly. This is their home. We don't run. Later, when the apartment had gone quiet again, Anna slipped Ethan a folded paper. On it, she had drawn a treehouse with 3 stick figures inside. She had written one word under it, home. Ethan held the paper tightly. No one, not Logan, not the courts, not the weight of their shared past would take that away. Because for the first time in years, Ethan Brooks knew exactly who he was. He was a fighter, and this fight had only just begun. The courtroom smelled faintly of dust and cold coffee 2 cents Ethan knew all too well from his early days as a paralegal intern before he'd ever made his first million. He sat at the plaintiff's table in a charcoal gray suit, not as a businessman today, but as a man fighting for blood. His hand rested lightly on Anna's shoulder. She sat beside him in a pale blue dress Sharon had picked out, one of the only times Ethan had seen her wear anything new. Emmy sat with Sharon in the hallway, too young for the formality and weight of what was about to unfold. Across the room, Logan slouched at the defense table, wearing an ill-fitting blazer that didn't hide the tattoo stretching across his collarbone. His lawyer, a man with slick-back hair and an arrogant smirk, whispered something in his ear. Logan didn't smile. He just stared at Ethan with eyes full of poison and memory. Judge Simmons, a black woman in her late 60s with silver hair pulled into a bun, entered the courtroom. Her presence alone quieted the room like a closing book. Mr. Brooks, she began, scanning the file in front of her. You are petitioning for emergency guardianship over Anna and Emmy Carter? Yes, Your Honor, Ethan said, standing. You're the brother of the girl's biological father? Yes, ma'am. Logan Carter is my older brother. The judge turned to Logan. Mr. Carter, you contest this? Logan stood. They're my kids. He's rich. He thinks that gives him the right to take them. It doesn't. Judge Simmons raised an eyebrow. Do you currently have a residence? I'm between places, Logan muttered. Are you employed? I do side work. Cash. Do you have proof of financial support provided to the children in the last year? Logan shifted. I gave them money sometimes. Anna stirred beside Ethan, and the judge noticed. She turned to the girl gently. Anna, I know this is difficult, but do you feel safe with your uncle? Anna nodded. And with your father? There was a pause. Anna's lips parted. He yells. He scares Emmy. The courtroom held its breath. Logan's lawyer stood quickly. Objection, Your Honor. The child's statements. Sustained, the judge said, but noted. She turned to Ethan. Mr. Brooks, are you prepared to provide stable housing, education, medical care, and emotional support? Yes, Ethan said firmly. I've already begun. The girls have their own room. They're enrolled in a local school. I've hired a therapist specializing in childhood trauma. I'm not stepping in because I have money, Your Honor. I'm stepping in because I couldn't sleep at night knowing they were left with someone who disappears when they cry. Logan's face twisted. The judge glanced down at her notes. There is a CPS report from last year. Domestic disturbance. Mr. Carter, were you involved in that? I don't remember, Logan said flatly. The judge's eyes narrowed. That's convenient. Silence settled again. Ethan could feel the tension tightening around them like piano wire. Court will recess for 15 minutes while I review the affidavits, Judge Simmons declared. In the hallway, Anna leaned into Ethan's side. Do we have to go with him? No, Ethan said quietly. Not if I can help it. Sharon approached, holding Emmy's hand. She's asking for juice. The vending machine's broken. I'll take her, Ethan said, relieved for something ending normal. He walked Emmy down the marble corridor, her small hand tucked into his. At the far end, a janitor mopped half-heartedly near the stairs. The elevator dinged. As he bought the juice, he caught sight of Logan slipping through the courthouse doors, phone pressed to his ear, jaw tight. He wasn't just pacing, was planning. Ethan crouched next to Emmy and handed her the bottle. "Sweetheart," he said, "you know I'm not going anywhere, right?" She nodded, clinging to his hand as they walked back. When court resumed, Judge Simmons looked more tired than before, but no less focused. "This case is emotionally charged," she began, "but the court's priority is the welfare of the children. And from what I've seen, Mr. Carter has provided neither a stable home nor emotional security." Logan stood, mouth open. "But they're mine." "Sit down," the judge said sharply. "I'm granting temporary emergency guardianship to Mr. Brooks, pending a full custody hearing in 60 days. Until then, Mr. Carter, you will not approach the children without court supervision." The gavel struck once. It was done for now. As they walked out of the courtroom, reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, and voices echoed down the stairs. But Anna held tight to Ethan's coat, and Emmy was already half asleep on Sharon's shoulder. In the car, Anna finally spoke. "Do we have to go back to court again?" "Yes," Ethan said, "but this time, we're not alone." Anna leaned her head against the window. "I just want to stay home." Ethan looked out at the city beyond the glass. "Then that's what we'll fight for." Behind them, Logan watched from a dark corner of the courthouse plaza, phone in hand. His eyes didn't blink, because the next move would be his, and he didn't plan to play fair. It rained the next morning, a steady drizzle that painted the city in gray and blurred the edges of everything. Ethan stood at the window of his penthouse, looking down at the street far below. The girls were safe, sleeping in their new beds down the hallway, each with soft blankets, real pillows, a nightlight. Their laughter had echoed faintly through the apartment the night before. It had sounded like home, but the court hearing was just the first battle. The war, Ethan knew, would be fought in shadows through whispers, threats, paperwork, and the things Logan knew how to weaponize best, pain and secrets. The doorbell rang. Sharon stepped in, her raincoat dripping. "We have a problem," she said, bypassing formalities. Ethan turned. "What now?" She pulled out a manila folder. Anonymous emails sent to 3 reporters, including one at the Post. "Claims you bribed Child Protective Services, that you manipulated the hearing. There's even a photo." She flipped the folder open. Inside was a grainy image of Ethan handing an envelope to a social worker outside the courthouse. Out of context, it looked damning. Ethan exhaled slowly. "That was bus fare and a grocery voucher I donated to her caseload. She's overworked, handling 20 families on food stamps." Logan's playing dirty," Sharon said. "And the media's hungry for scandal, especially when it involves a billionaire in custody of poor black children." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Let them dig. I have nothing to hide. But the court of public opinion doesn't care about facts. They care about clicks." Just then, Anna peeked around the corner. "Is it okay if Emmy watches cartoons before breakfast?" Ethan smiled gently. "Of course, honey. We'll have pancakes in a bit." Anna nodded and disappeared again. Sharon lowered her voice. "We need to stay ahead of this. You should consider speaking publicly." "No," Ethan said. "This isn't about me. I won't turn their pain into a press tour." "Then let's shift the spotlight. Build the case." Ethan nodded. "Find me everything. Records, witnesses, people Logan hurt. I want affidavits, restraining orders, anything we can use to show the court who he really is." That afternoon, Ethan drove alone to a part of Queens he hadn't seen since he was 17. He parked in front of a rundown barbershop with a hand-painted sign and a broken neon clock in the window. Inside, the place smelled of talcum powder and hair tonic. An older man looked up from his chair. "Well, I'll be damned, Ethan Brooks." "Hey, Tony," Ethan said. "Mind if I sit?" Tony wiped his hands and nodded. "Always a chair for you. What brings you back?" "I need to ask about Logan." Tony's smile faded. "He came around last month. Asked for money. Said he was starting over. But he was sweating like he'd seen a ghost. Angry. Twitchy. Did he say where he was staying?" "Some woman's couch. Didn't say who. But he mentioned a warehouse job. Temporary." "You think he's dangerous?" Tony looked Ethan in the eye. "He was dangerous when we were kids. Now, he's worse. Nothing to lose." Ethan nodded. "Thanks, Tony." As he left, he passed a kid sweeping the front steps, earbuds in, head bobbing. For a moment, he saw himself in that boy hungry to escape, afraid to look back. By evening, he was back home. The apartment smelled of syrup and maple, remnants of breakfast still lingering. Emmy toddled up with a drawing, a house with a big tree and 3 stick figures holding hands. "Uncle Ethan, look." He crouched and took the paper. "That's beautiful. Who's that under the tree?" "That's me," she said, pointing. "And Anna. And you." His heart tightened. Sharon called again just before dinner. "We found someone," she said. "An ex-girlfriend." Said Logan hit her, broke her jaw. She filed charges but dropped them after he threatened her mom. Ethan's voice hardened. "Can she testify?" "She's scared, but yes. I'll get her a protection order." "Good," Ethan said. "Let's get every truth we can. And Sharon, thank you." Later that night, after the girls were asleep, Ethan sat on the balcony with a glass of iced tea. Rain misted across the skyline. He thought about his mother's laugh, the way she used to sit on the fire escape and tell stories about the life they'd someday build. He had built that life. But the cost was still being calculated. Inside, his phone buzzed. A new voicemail. It was Logan. "I hope you enjoyed your little win in court. You think that judge saved you? She didn't. You think those girls are yours now? They're not. They're mine. And you can't protect them forever." Ethan listened, jaw set, then deleted the message. He stood and walked inside, passing the girls' bedroom. Emmy's soft snore drifted through the door. Anna clutched a stuffed bear against her chest. He closed the door gently. Logan was right about one thing: this wasn't over. But Ethan wasn't protecting the girls just for now. He was building a fortress for the rest of their lives. A week later, Ethan found himself sitting in the green room of WNYC radio, staring at his reflection in a mirror framed with dusty light bulbs. He hated this part: the exposure, the staged conversations, the way reporters prodded your trauma like it was currency. But Sharon had insisted. Public pressure, she'd said, could tip a judge's opinion, and if the story was told truthfully, maybe, just maybe, it would do more than just protect Anna and Emmy. Maybe it would help someone else too. A production assistant knocked. "You're up in 2. Ethan nodded and stood, adjusting his collar. His palms were slightly damp, but his voice was steady. He had faced boardrooms that felt colder than this. Inside the recording booth, the host greeted him warmly. "Mr. Brooks, thank you for joining us." "Happy to be here," Ethan said. The host leaned into the mic. "Today on Real Voices, we're joined by Ethan Brooks, CEO, investor, philanthropist. But this week, he's in the news for a very different reason. Mr. Brooks, you've filed for emergency custody of your nieces, children of your estranged brother. Can you tell us why?" Ethan inhaled. "Because I had no other choice. I walked into a bakery and saw a little girl begging for food, not with tears, but with dignity. She didn't steal. She didn't scream. She just asked, quietly, if she could pay later." He paused, voice thickening. "She reminded me of someone I used to be." The host let the silence linger, then asked gently, "Your brother, Logan Carter, he claims you're using your wealth and status to take his children. How do you respond to that?" Ethan's jaw tightened. Logan had years to be their father. What he did instead was abandon them, scare them, and when present harm them. Money doesn't make someone a good parent, but neither does biology. Love does. Safety does. Showing up does. There was a pause. The host leaned forward. "What do you say to those who think this is about control? That you're trying to erase your brother?" Ethan didn't flinch. "This isn't about erasing him. This is about protecting them. I'd rather never have my name in the news again than watch those girls suffer another day." After the show ended, the producer pulled Ethan aside. "We're getting calls already. People want to help. Donations, letters of support." Ethan nodded, grateful but weary. "Let them help the system. It's broken." Back in the car, Sharon was waiting with her tablet. "You did good," she said. "How bad's the fallout?" She showed him her screen. Tweets, articles, hashtags. Public opinion was shifting. People were rallying behind the story of 2 little girls, and the uncle who showed up when no one else did. "Logan's lawyer filed a new motion," Sharon added. Requesting unsupervised visitation. Claims you're poisoning the girls against him. Ethan's face hardened. If they want war, we'll give them truth. The next morning, Anna refused to eat. Ethan noticed immediately. You okay, honey? She shook her head, picking at her cereal. What if they make us go back? Ethan sat beside her. Do you want to go back? Tears welled in her eyes. Number Emmy cries in her sleep when he's near. I hear her. Ethan reached for her hand. You're not going anywhere. I promised you that, and I don't break promises. He looked her in the eye. Serious. Do you want to tell someone how you feel? A counselor, maybe? She hesitated. If Emmy goes too. He smiled. Of course. That afternoon, Ethan drove the girls to a children's center in downtown Brooklyn. The building was bright and filled with art. A therapist named Carla met them, soft voice, kind eyes. She led Anna and Emmy inside. While he waited, Ethan got a call. DeWitt. I found something, she said. Logan used a different name when he was arrested in 2019. Assault in Newark. He skipped his hearing. We can file that with the court. Do it, Ethan said. Anything else? We got a witness. His ex, Marisol. She's scared, but she agreed to testify. Ethan exhaled. That changes everything. That night, Anna brought him a photo she'd drawn during her session. It showed a house with flowers in the window, but instead of stick figures, she'd drawn full people, detailed eyes, smiles, arms outstretched. Uncle Ethan, she said, pointing. That's you. Why do I look taller than the house? He asked, smiling. She shrugged. Because you keep us standing. His heart ached in a way he hadn't expected. Later, after the girls were asleep, Sharon sat with him in the living room, legal files spread across the coffee table. You're winning them over, she said. Judge Simmons, the press, maybe even the system. Ethan nodded slowly. Now I just need to win over the girls' future. And for the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to believe that he just might. 3 days after the radio interview, Ethan arrived at his office early. The city was still stretching awake, but the tension in his chest had been simmering since midnight. Something was wrong, he could feel it. Sharon was already waiting inside, a half-drunk coffee in her hand, and her laptop open in front of her. You need to see this, she said before he even reached his desk. She clicked on a video file. Grainy footage played security cam footage from a liquor store. Logan stood at the counter, yelling at the clerk, waving something in his hand. It looked like a lighter. A child, blurry and small, stood in the background, clutching the edge of a candy rack. That's Emmy, Ethan said coldly. Sharon nodded. From a week ago, before the court hearing, we just got the timestamp verified. Ethan leaned forward. He had her alone? Yes, for at least 10 minutes. And the clerk says Logan threatened to set the trash bin on fire unless he got free liquor. Why didn't the clerk call the cops? Sharon's voice tightened. He was scared, and Logan promised it wouldn't happen again. Ethan turned to the window, fists clenched. We file this now. Already done. I also reached out to CPS. This violates the supervised visitation rule. It violates human decency, Ethan muttered. But this wasn't the only fire. Back at the apartment, Anna had withdrawn again. She ate less, slept less, and spent hours watching the hallway through the peephole. Ethan had caught her sitting on the floor, blanket wrapped tight, eyes wide. He said he can find us anywhere, she whispered. Ethan sat beside her, heart aching. He said that? Yes. He left a note in Emmy's backpack. It wasn't there before school. Ethan's chest tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want you to be scared too. Ethan blinked hard. Sweetheart, I'm already scared. But not of him. I'm scared you'll think you're alone. And you're not. That night, they reinforced the apartment doors again. Extra locks. Silent alarms. Sharon arranged for a retired detective, Rick Mendesto, be stationed in the hallway discreetly. Anna gave him a drawing on his second day, a picture of him standing like a guard dog with sunglasses and a walkie-talkie. Rick laughed and pinned it inside his coat. Meanwhile, DeWitt had found new evidence. Logan had pawned one of Anna's old necklaces, stolen from the bag she'd brought from her foster home. "That's theft," she said. "We can file another charge." "File everything," Ethan replied. But it wasn't just legal motions they needed. It was a plan, something Logan wouldn't see coming. That plan came in the form of a woman named Marisol. Ethan met her in a quiet diner just off the freeway. She wore sunglasses even inside, and her hands shook slightly when she held the coffee mug. "You really want to take him down?" she asked. Ethan didn't blink. "Yes, then I'll help, but not for you, for those girls." She told them everything, the threats, the bruises, the night Logan pushed her down the stairs and called it an accident. Sharon recorded the statement. DeWitt filed the affidavit. And Ethan, for the first time in weeks, felt the weight shift in their favor. But Logan wasn't done. That weekend, Ethan returned from a short grocery trip to find the door to apartment 3C ajar. Panic slammed through his chest. He burst in. "Anna, Emmy!" Both girls stood in the kitchen safe but shaken. Anna pointed to the table. A single red envelope lay there. No name, no postage. Inside was a photo of Ethan taken through the bakery window, weeks ago, holding Emmy's hand. On the back, scrawled in Sharpie, "You're not the only one watching." Ethan sat down hard in the nearest chair. How did he get in? Sharon arrived within minutes, followed by DeWitt. There were no signs of forced entry, nothing stolen. Nothing touched it except that one note. "This was a message," DeWitt said. "He's saying, 'I can reach you.'" Ethan looked at his nieces. Anna's lip trembled. Emmy clutched her bear. He knelt before them. "Listen to me. No 101 is taking you. Not while I'm breathing." Anna's voice was small, but he got inside. Ethan stood. "Then we move." Sharon blinked. "What?" "We move tonight. Somewhere safe. Somewhere he doesn't know. We don't have a location cleared. Use one of the corporate safe houses. I have properties listed under shell companies. No paper trail." DeWitt nodded. "I'll arrange an escort." Within hours, they were packed. The girls left with Rick through the service elevator. Ethan followed separately with Sharon. The safe house was a converted artist loft in Tribecacozy. Quiet, reinforced windows. No neighbors for 2 floors. That night, Ethan sat with Anna on the sofa while Emmy slept nearby. "Do you want to know why I never talked about your dad before?" he asked. Anna nodded slowly. "Because I thought if I stayed silent, the past couldn't touch me. But I was wrong. The past doesn't go away just because you ignore it." Anna leaned against him. "I'm glad you didn't ignore us." Ethan swallowed the lump in his throat. "I never will again." Outside, the city kept breathing. Somewhere, Logan was watching. But Ethan wasn't hiding anymore. He was preparing. Because the next time Logan came close, Ethan would be ready. The safe house in Tribeca had thick walls and silence that stretched like fog. Outside, Manhattan pulsed with its usual clamor. But inside the loft, it was still too still. Ethan barely slept. Even with private security stationed outside and encrypted locks on every door, his mind raced through contingency plans, worst-case scenarios, and the questions that never stopped echoing in his head. How did Logan get inside the old apartment? Who helped him? What was he planning next? Early Monday morning, Ethan paced the kitchen while Sharon poured coffee. "We've secured the building's entire floor," she said. "Only your team, Rick and DeWitt's unit, know this location." I want background checks on every staff member at Emmy's school," Ethan said. "Front desk, janitors, substitute teachers, anyone who might have helped him slip that note into her backpack." "I'm already on it," Sharon said. "But Ethan, you need rest. You're carrying this like a soldier." Ethan stopped pacing. "That's what it is, Sharon. A war. And I'm not just fighting for custody. I'm fighting for their childhood." Later that morning, Carlath Girl's therapist arrived for a session. Ethan let her in, then stepped aside, letting the girls speak freely. From the corner of the room, he watched Anna show Carla her drawing of the safe house's rooftop. She'd drawn Ethan with a cape this time, holding a shield over her and Emmy. Carla smiled softly and nodded, taking notes. After the session, Carla pulled Ethan aside. "She's opening up more," she said. "But there's a lot buried deep. Emmy has night terrors. Anna blames herself for everything. She thinks if she'd asked for help sooner, none of this would have happened. That's not fair, Ethan said, his voice low. Children don't deal in fairness, they deal in survival. Keep showing up, Ethan. You're doing more than most ever would. That afternoon, DeWitt arrived with her usual manila folder, eyes sharper than usual. 2 updates, she said. 1 good, 1 bad. Start with the bad. We tracked the note back to a contact inside Emmy's school, a temp aide hired through a third-party service. He's vanished, probably paid off by Logan. Ethan nodded grimly. And the good? DeWitt smiled thinly. We've got Logan's location, abandoned factory outside Newark. He's been squatting there, probably using it as a base. Let's get him, Ethan said. Not yet, she cautioned. We can't arrest him for trespassing, but we're building a case between Marisol's affidavit, the liquor store incident, and the note. We're close. Define close, Ethan said. Within days. That night, while Emmy slept soundly for the first time in a week, Ethan and Anna sat on the rooftop under the stars. She wore one of Ethan's old sweatshirts, sleeves covering her hands. She didn't speak at first. Then she whispered, I remember the first time he yelled. Ethan stayed still, listening. I dropped a glass. Emmy cried. He told me I was stupid, said I'd never be worth anything. I was 6. Ethan's chest burned. He was wrong. You're brave, and smart, and stronger than he'll ever be. Anna looked up at the sky. Do you think people like him can change? Ethan paused. Sometimes, but only if they want to, and only if they're willing to face the pain they've caused. He never says sorry, Anna said. He just disappears. Ethan nodded. That's what cowards do. The wind picked up. Anna pulled the sweatshirt tighter. Do you think he'll try to find us again? Ethan turned to her, firm and clear. Let him try. This time, we're ready. The next day brought a surprise. Judge Simmons called an emergency hearing. New evidence submitted. Logan's team had filed a counter motion, requesting immediate visitation rights, citing emotional distress caused by separation from his daughters. They're playing offense, Sharon warned. Trying to flip the narrative, say you're weaponizing the kid's trauma. They're weaponizing silence, Ethan replied. But not for long. In court, Logan wore a neatly pressed suit. His hair was combed, his hands folded like a reformed man. But Ethan saw through it, saw the rage behind the smile, the entitlement behind the tears. The judge addressed both sides. I've reviewed the new filings, she said, including the footage from the liquor store, the school incident, and Miss Marisol's affidavit. Logan's lawyer stood. Your Honor, we contest the validity of these claims. My client is committed to rebuilding a relationship with his children. Ethan's voice cut through the courtroom. Your Honor, Logan Carter has had every opportunity to be a father. What he's done instead is stalk, manipulate, and endanger. This is not about rights. This is about safety. The judge nodded slowly. Mr. Carter, do you have anything to say? Logan stood. They're my kids, and I made mistakes, but that doesn't mean I don't love them. Love, the judge said, is not proven with words. It is proven with action. She glanced down at her papers. Effective immediately, this court is issuing a no-contact order. Mr. Carter is to stay 100 yards away from the minors until the final custody hearing. Logan's face pallid. Courageous. Outside, Ethan exhaled for the first time all day. Anna grabbed his hand. Is it over? Not yet, Ethan said. But the scales are tipping. Back at the safe house that night, the girls made a tent from blankets and chairs. Ethan joined them on the floor, a flashlight in hand. They told stories. Anna spoke of a dog she wanted, Emmy of a garden they would plant. Ethan listened, eyes soft. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to hope, not just for victory in court, but for peace, for healing, for home. The next morning, the sunlight spilled softly across the hardwood floor of the safe house. Emmy's laughter floated from the living room, where she played with a small set of wooden blocks. Anna sat at the kitchen counter, legs swinging, drawing quietly with colored pencils. Ethan stood nearby, making eggs while Sharon reviewed court documents beside him. It felt almost like normal. Almost. Judge Simmons fast-tracked the custody hearing, Sharon said, lowering her voice. 3 days from now. I think she's trying to protect the girls while keeping it off the media radar. Ethan nodded. Good, let's keep it quiet. But there's something else, she said. Logan's lawyer filed another motion last night. He's requesting a character witness someone who worked with you at your old firm. Says you're controlling, obsessive, emotionally unstable. Ethan didn't react for a long beat. Then, let them. I've got nothing to hide. Sharon posed. You sure? Ethan looked over at Anna, her hair falling in soft waves over her drawing. I've never been more sure of anything. Later that day, while the girls napped, Rick Mendez knocked on the door. He entered with a folder in one hand and a tight expression. Logan's been quiet, he said. Too quiet. That makes me nervous. Ethan took the folder. Inside were photos Logan spotted near the courthouse, again in Queens, then outside a private gym in Midtown, always alone, always watching. He's planning something, Rick muttered. We need to tighten our perimeter. I already tripled the security rotation, Ethan said. And I've got Sharon checking for digital breaches. Good, Rick said, then added. You ever think about leaving town, taking the girls somewhere else entirely? I did, Ethan admitted, but that would teach them to run, and I won't teach them to fear him. That night, Carla returned for a family session. Emmy fell asleep quickly, her head resting on Ethan's arm. Anna, however, stayed uppies alert, heart racing. Carla turned to Ethan. Would you mind giving us a minute? Ethan nodded and stepped into the hallway, watching the rain streak down the windows. A few minutes later, Carla joined him. She's afraid you'll disappear, Carla said softly. She's seen it happen too many times, people making promises and vanishing. I'm not going anywhere. She believes you, Carla said, but she also thinks the world doesn't let good things last. Ethan exhaled. That's something I can't promise, but I can fight like hell to prove her wrong. The following day, Ethan received an anonymous package at the firm. Inside was a USB drive. No note, no return address, just a small black stick, cold to the touch. He plugged it into his laptop in Sharon's presence. A video file opened. Logan. He was sitting in a basement somewhere dank and dimly lit, speaking directly into the camera. You want to play the hero, he said. You think you're better because you've got suits and a view, but you're just like me, Ethan. Broken. He leaned in, his eyes wild. And you forgot something. I was always better at surviving. The video ended with coordinates typed across the screen. A warehouse address in Jersey City. No explanation. No threats. Just silence. Ethan turned to Sharon. It's bait. Of course it is, she said. You're not going. I have to, he said. If he's building a case, hiding something, I need to know. I'll call DeWitt. We're not doing this alone. 3 hours later, under the cover of dusk, Ethan and DeWitt approached the warehouse. Officers stood by, just out of sight. The building creaked with every gust of wind, its windows blacked out. Inside, they found another envelope, this one nailed to a post. Ethan opened it carefully. Photos, dozens of them, some recent, some old. Ethan in college, Logan at their mother's funeral. Anna, asleep on the subway bench from that first night. Emmy crying in a park taken from across the street. He's been documenting everything, Ethan whispered. He's not just watching us, he's building an obsession. DeWitt swore under her breath. We can use this. This is stalking. Ethan looked up. This isn't just about court anymore. It's about control. They secured the evidence and returned to the city, more determined than ever. That night, Ethan sat with Anna in her room, the light from her bedside lamp casting a warm glow. She looked up from her book. What happens if the judge says we have to go? She won't, Ethan said softly. But what if? Then we appeal. We fight harder. We never stop. Anna nodded. Okay. He kissed her forehead and tucked her in. Outside her room, he looked to Sharon. We're running out of time, he said. But we're not out yet. Sharon's eyes narrowed. Then let's finish what we started. The storm was coming, but Ethan Brooks had never been more ready to face it. The courtroom buzzed with low murmurs as people filtered in, coats damp from the early morning rain. The final custody hearing was underway. It had been expedited, yes, but not without tension. The judge, a stern woman with a reputation for fairness and zero tolerance for theatrics, sat at the bench like an immovable force. Judge Simmons peered over her glasses at the documents before her. Ethan sat at the plaintiff's table, suit crisp, back straight, but his hands were clenched under the table. Anna and Emmy were not in the room, thank God. Sharon had arranged for them to stay at the safe house with Rick, who had become like a quiet guardian to them both. On the other side of the room, Logan appeared oddly calm, too calm. His lawyer shuffled papers, pretending confidence. Ethan could see right through them. He wasn't here to negotiate, he was here to provoke. The judge cleared her throat. Today, we hear final arguments regarding the custody of minors Anna Carter and Emmeline Carter. Each party will present their case. I remind everyone, this is not a trial of character, but of care. Sharon rose first. Her voice was measured, firm. She outlined the girls' living conditions before Ethan took them in documented CPS reports, testimony from their therapist Carla, police reports, and the verified footage of Logan's violent behavior. Mr. Ethan Brooks, she concluded, has not only provided safety, but stability, and above all, he has shown up every single day. These girls know what love looks like because of him. When Logan's lawyer stood, his tone was softer, more manipulative. Your Honor, my client acknowledges his past, but he is not on trial for who he was. He has completed anger management courses, remained drug-free for the last 18 months, and is seeking to reconnect with his daughters in a healthy, monitored environment. Ethan's brow twitched. Lies, wrapped in half-truths. Then Logan stood up to speak. They're my girls, he began, his voice falsely vulnerable. And I know I messed up, but they're all I have. Blood matters. The room was silent. The judge leaned forward. And what about your record of trespassing, stalking, intimidation? Logan didn't flinch. I was scared of losing them. I made mistakes, but I never hurt them. Sharon rose abruptly. Your Honor, we have photographic evidence taken inside the girl's former apartment. Holes punched into the drywall. Burn marks on the floor. The result of his rage. Are we supposed to wait until next time it's not a wall that's broken? Judge Simmons nodded. We'll recess for review. Final decision to be delivered tomorrow morning. Outside the courthouse, the cold rain had turned to sleet. Ethan and Sharon stood under a narrow overhang, wind biting through their coats. He's trying to look like a changed man, Ethan muttered. But a costume doesn't change the monster inside. You held steady, Sharon said. The judge saw through him. I could tell. Ethan's phone buzzed. A text. From Rick. Call me. Now. Something happened. Ethan stepped away, answering with immediate urgency. Rick? She's gone, Rick said, breath tight. Anna. She snuck out during my shift. Left a note. Ethan's blood ran cold. What? She went alone. Said she needed to face him so he knows I'm not scared anymore. That's what the note said. Ethan felt the world tilt. I'm on my way. They called DeWitt and traced the route Anna had taken, subway cameras, street angles. She was heading toward the old bakery, the place where it all began. By the time Ethan arrived, the sky had darkened. The rain hadn't stopped, but the lights from the bakery glowed softly inside, and standing by the window, soaked to the bone, was Anna. Ethan jumped from the car and ran toward her. Anna. She turned, her face pale but her chin high. I just wanted to prove I wasn't afraid, she said. I wanted him to see that he can't scare me anymore. Ethan dropped to his knees in front of her, pulling her close. Baby girl, you are the bravest person I've ever met, but you don't have to prove anything to anyone, not even him. A shadow moved behind them. Ethan turned sharply. Logan. He stepped out from a side alley, hands raised like he meant peace. You made your point, Anna, he said. You're tough, but you still need your father. Ethan stood, shielding Anna behind him. You have no right to be here. Logan's voice was cool. She came to me, not the other way around. Because you poisoned her mind for years. She's mine, Logan suddenly roared, eyes wild. She's mine and you stole her. Anna clutched Ethan's coat. Within seconds, red and blue lights flared in the distance. Sirens. Rick had called it in. Logan stepped back into the alley, desperate. This isn't over, he shouted. Ethan didn't move. He stood, holding Anna's hand, until the police tackled Logan just feet away. Back at the safe house, Ethan wrapped Anna in a blanket and sat beside her on the couch. You don't ever have to go through that alone again, he whispered. Anna nodded, exhausted. "I'm sorry," she said softly. Ethan shook his head. "Number, I'm proud of you, but next time, let me protect you too." As Anna fell asleep in his arms, Sharon whispered from the hallway, "Tomorrow, we finish this." And Ethan whispered back, "Tomorrow, we begin again." The courthouse loomed tall under a gray sky the next morning. The wind carried a sharpness that cut through even the thickest wool coats. Ethan stood at the base of the marble steps, watching the doors with a guarded calm. Sharon was beside him, briefcase in hand, coat fluttering in the breeze. Today wasn't just a hearing, it was the moment everything hinged upon, the culmination of weeks of trauma, truth, and war. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was subdued but tense. A hushed anticipation hung over every bench, as though the entire room held its breath. Judge Simmons entered, black robes sweeping behind her, and called the session to order. Ethan's heart pounded like a slow drum. He glanced once toward the empty bench where Logan should have been seated. The arrest from the previous night had led to a contempt charge and overnight holding. His lawyer sat alone, grim and silent. The judge adjusted her glasses. "This court has reviewed all submitted documents, testimonies, and evidence. I have considered the behavior patterns, the stability of each guardian, and the expressed wishes of the minors through their therapy reports and guardian ad litem evaluations." Sharon leaned slightly forward, holding her breath. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Custody decisions are not about perfection," the judge continued. "They are about consistency, safety, and nurturing. Children, above all, need to feel safe. They need to trust. They need to heal." She looked directly at Ethan. "Mr. Brooks, while not without flaws, you have shown a remarkable capacity to put these children before yourself. You have demonstrated stability, humility, and a genuine commitment to their well-being. This court finds that granting you full and permanent custody of Anna Carter and Emmeline Carter is not only appropriate, it is essential." The courtroom remained silent for a moment that felt like eternity. Then Sharon exhaled sharply. Ethan closed his eyes, his shoulders finally sagging in relief. It was over. "Furthermore," the judge added, "Logan Carter is to remain under a no-contact order pending further criminal investigation, and any future petition for visitation shall be contingent upon psychiatric evaluation and rehabilitation review." Ethan stood as the judge exited. His hands trembled, but only slightly. The weight he'd carried for weeks had lifted, replaced not by celebration, but by quiet, determined peace. Outside, reporters gathered, but Sharon shielded him with her usual efficiency. "No statements today," she said. "Let's get the girls." The drive to the safe house was fast, nearly silent. Ethan watched the city pass by familiar buildings, faceless crowds, all unaware of how close two little lives had come to being lost in the cracks. When they arrived, Anna and Emmy were waiting by the window. The moment they saw him step out of the car, both girls ran to the door, flinging it open before he even reached the steps. "Uncle Ethan," Emmy squealed. Anna's eyes were wide. "Did we win?" Ethan knelt down on the stoop, gathering them both into his arms. "We didn't just win," he said softly. "We're free." Later that afternoon, they returned to Ethan's brownstone, the one he hadn't set foot in since the custody battle began. The girls explored every room like it was a palace, wide-eyed and full of energy. "This one's mine?" Anna asked, standing in the doorway of a soft yellow bedroom. "Only if you want it." "I do." Emmy chose the room next door, decorated with stars and soft lavender curtains. That evening, they had a simple dinner: mac and cheese, apple slices, and ginger ale. But to the three of them, it felt like a feast. Rick stopped by with a stuffed unicorn for Emmy and a bike helmet for Anna. "I figured someone's gonna need this when spring comes," he said, smiling. "You're staying for cake," Ethan said. No arguments. After the dishes were done, and the girls changed into pajamas, they all sat on the couch, Anna under one arm, Emmy under the other. A quiet warmth settled over them. "Uncle Ethan," Anna asked, "are we gonna be okay now?" He looked down at Hooray, so much older than they should be. "We already are." She nodded and rested her head against his chest. For a long time, no one said anything. The city hummed outside, lights twinkling through the window. But inside that brownstone, there was stillness, safety, and the first true sense of home. Sharon called later to confirm all documents were finalized. "You're officially their guardian now," she said. "No one can take that away." Ethan didn't answer right away. He stared out the window at the darkening skyline. "Thank you, Sharon, for everything," she laughed. "You did the hard part." Feels like this is just the beginning." "That's the best part," she said. "New beginnings." After he hung up, Ethan walked quietly into the girls' hallway. Anna's door was ajar. She was still awake, reading with a flashlight under the covers. "Lights out, young lady," he teased. She peeked out. "Can you read with me? Just one page?" He sat beside her on the bed, picked up the book, and read aloud until her breathing softened and the flashlight slipped from her fingers. Then he sat for a long time, watching her sleep. The scars would take time to fade, but love wasn't just a promise. It was a practice, a choice, made over and over, even in the darkest nights. Tomorrow, they'd go to the park, maybe visit the museum, start school next week, write new stories on pages they finally owned. But tonight, they rested, safe, together. It had been 3 weeks since the court's decision. Spring had begun to softly paint New York City in greens and yellows. The girls walked to school each morning hand in hand, Anna carrying her books in a navy backpack with a sewn-on patch that read "Fierce and Kind." Emmy clutched her lunchbox with cartoon animals on it, chatting about butterflies and chalk drawings. Ethan had settled into a routine too, though. Settled wasn't quite the right word. Life was still healing around the edges. The trauma hadn't vanished, but it had softened. Where there used to be fire, now there was space for rebuilding. Each morning, he walked the girls to school. At first, Anna clung to his side, scanning every passerby for signs of danger. But by the second week, she had started letting go. She'd wave goodbye at the school gates, smile faintly, and vanish into the crowd of other children with only a small backward glance. Today, as they reached the corner of 74th and Amsterdam, Emmy pointed toward a bakery window. "Uncle Ethan, look, that's your cake." Ethan smiled. It was the bakery where he and Anna first crossed paths again, where her small voice had asked if she could pay later. A caramel apple tart was displayed behind the glass, just like that day. "You're right," he said. "That's our lucky cake now." Emmy beamed, and Anna nodded solemnly. "We should go back there someday, when we're all okay." Ethan ruffled her hair. "We're getting there." Back at the brownstone, Sharon arrived with 2 cups of coffee and a leather folder. "I know it's early," she said, "but I want to talk about legacy." Ethan raised a brow. "Legacy? You've been doing more than surviving, Ethan. You've built something, a story worth telling, and I think you should share it. Not for publicity, God knows you hate that, but to inspire others." He sipped the coffee. "What are you getting at?" "I want you to speak at the Community Justice Forum next month. Share what it's like being a male guardian in a broken system, what it's like fighting for kids who've been silenced." Ethan leaned back. "You think people want to hear that?" "I know they need to." He didn't answer immediately. The idea stirred something in him, a mixture of fear and purpose. "I'll think about it." That afternoon, he took out a notebook and began writing. Not legal memos or case strategies, but memories. The first time Anna flinched when he raised his voice by accident. The way Emmy would hide her drawings at first, as if afraid someone would steal her joy. And slowly, the changes. Anna's growing confidence. Emmy's loud giggles. The way both girls now fell asleep with the door open. Later that week, Ethan met with Carla, the girls' therapist. "They're progressing remarkably," she said. "Anna is beginning to understand that fear doesn't define her. Emmy's night terrors have reduced significantly. And more importantly, they both believe in something again." Ethan tilted his head. "In what?" "In you, in safety, in a future." He didn't have words for that, just gratitude. That weekend, they went to the park. Anna rode her bike. Rick had finally taught her how to balance, and Emmy fed pigeons with crusts of bread. The 3 of them sat on a blanket under a tree afterward, sipping lemonade. Ethan watched them, a smile tugging at his lips. "Do you girls know what's happening next month?" Anna raised an eyebrow. "School trip?" "Nope. I've been asked to give a speech. Talk about our journey." "Are we going to be in it?" Emmy asked, eyes wide. "Of course," he said. "You're the best part." Anna looked thoughtful. "What will you say?" Ethan considered. "That love doesn't always come easy. Sometimes it shows up late. Sometimes it arrives in the middle of a storm. But when it does, You hold on to it. You build with it. Emmy hugged him. Can I come? He laughed. You'll be in school, but I'll save a seat at the front just for you two. As they walked home that evening, Ethan caught sight of their reflections in a shop window. 3 figures. Imperfect. Strong. Whole. Later that night, Anna knocked on his study door. Uncle Ethan? He looked up. What's up, sweetheart? I've been thinking. Could I change my last name? He blinked. To what? Yours. The words landed like a heartbeat echo in a cathedral. You sure? She nodded. I want people to know I belong somewhere. I want to belong to us. Ethan stood, walked around the desk, and knelt in front of her. Anna Brooks, he said, voice cracking. That sounds perfect. She smiled. Can we make it official? We'll start tomorrow. That night, Ethan wrote the first line of his speech. This is not a story about tragedy. It's a story about what happens when someone chooses to stay. And for the first time in a very long time, he believed every word. The day Anna's name changed became more than a legal formality. It became a quiet declaration of hope, resilience, and chosen family. The court proceeding was simple. Routine, even. But for Ethan, it felt like signing a promise in ink he could never undo and never wanted to. The courtroom was smaller this time, tucked away in a municipal building without the crowds, cameras, or heavy air of past hearings. Just Ethan, Anna, Emmy, Sharon, and a kindly judge who smiled when he saw the paperwork. So, the judge said, looking down at the petition, Miss Anna Carter is requesting to change her last name to Brooks. Anna stood a little taller. Yes, Your Honor. Do you understand what this means? Anna nodded. It means I choose where I belong. The judge chuckled softly. That's as fine a reason as any. With the strike of a gavel, it was official. Anna Brooks. When they left the courtroom, Emmy grabbed her sister's hand and twirled her in a circle on the sidewalk. You're one of us now, she squealed. Anna grinned. I've always been one of us. Ethan walked behind them, quiet, moved. The moment etched itself into his memory not with fireworks or fanfare, but with something deeper. A peace that only comes when things finally begin to feel right. Later that day, they celebrated with chocolate cake from the same bakery where Anna had first asked, timid and small, if she could pay later. This time, the owner recognized them, offered free hot cocoa, and whispered to Ethan, You've got quite the family there. He smiled. Yeah, I do. Back at the brownstone, Anna taped a hand-drawn nameplate to her bedroom door. It read, Anna Brooks, artist, sister, survivor. Emmy added a smiley face and 3 stickers. That night, after the girls were asleep, Sharon stopped by with a stack of papers. You're giving that speech in a week, she said, tapping the top page. And you need to start prepping. Ethan sighed, setting aside his laptop. I know, she studied him. You afraid of speaking? Or of what it'll stir up? He looked toward the hallway, where the sound machine in Emmy's room hummed faintly. Both, he admitted. Telling the story makes it real in a new way. And I'm not sure I'm ready to relive the worst of it. But you've lived the best of it too, she said. That's what they need to hear. He picked up the draft of his speech again, fingers trailing the words he'd written. His voice on the page was clear, steady, but his heart still trembled when he remembered those early days, the unknowns, the screams in the dark, Anna's trembling hands, Emmy's silence. I'll finish it, he said, but I want the girls to read it first. The next day, while they sat in the living room coloring and eating grapes, Ethan handed Anna a printed copy of the speech. Tell me if this sounds like us, he said. Anna read quietly. Emmy peeked over her shoulder at the words. Then Anna looked up. It sounds like you, she said. Not us? She shook her head. It's about us, but it sounds like how you talk when you're protecting us, not when you're just with us. Ethan leaned back. That's fair. Emmy giggled. You forgot the part about the unicorn tea party. I'll revise. He smiled. By nightfall, Ethan rewrote the speech with the girls' voices echoing in his head. He stripped away the formality. He included the bakery, the chalk drawings, the hard days and the small victories. He included their laughter. And then he ended it with a truth he hadn't dared put to paper before. They didn't need me to save them. They needed someone who wouldn't leave, someone who would stand between them and the storm, not because they were weak but because they were worthy. Every child is. The day of the Community Justice Forum arrived with clear skies and a nervous knot in Ethan's stomach. The venue was a historic hall in the Upper West Side, stained glass windows, polished wood floors, and rows of chairs that soon filled with teachers, lawyers, social workers, and parents. Rick sat in the second row. Sharon hovered near the stage, always watching, always planning. And just before Ethan stepped up to the microphone, he spotted them, Anna and Emmy, seated quietly with Carla. Anna gave him a small thumbs up. Emmy mouthed, "You got this." He took the podium. "I never set out to become a father," he began. "I didn't know what I was walking into. I just knew 2 little girls needed help, and I didn't want them to walk alone anymore." He told their story. He didn't soften the hard parts. He didn't dramatize the pain. He spoke with reverence for the courage it took Anna to survive, for the light Emmy never let the dark steal, for the way love came not like a lightning strike, but like a steady flame. And when he finished, the room stood, slowly, then fully. A standing ovation not for him, but for them, for what they represented. For the children still waiting to be seen. Backstage, the girls ran into his arms. "You didn't cry," Emmy said, impressed. "I almost did," he admitted. "You two kept me strong." Anna held up a tiny note card she'd been scribbling on. "Can I read you something now?" He nodded. She unfolded the paper. "To Mr. Ethan Brooks. You didn't just give us a home. You gave us a reason to believe people can be good again. I used to be scared all the time, but not anymore. Not because the world got safer, but because I did. And because now, I know someone will always be there when I fall." Ethan couldn't speak. He simply hugged her, long and tight. As they walked out of the hall, sunlight streamed through the glass above. Anna took his left hand. Emmy took the right. Together, they stepped into a world that finally felt like it was theirs. Spring deepened in the city, and with it came blossoms on the trees and laughter in the parks. Life in the brownstone began to settle into something resembling peace. Ethan adjusted to mornings filled with mismatched socks and cereal bowls, to afternoons helping with science projects and spelling lists, and to nights that ended with bedtime stories and whispered secrets in the dark. Anna had started writing short stories of her own. Emmy had joined a music group at school and learned to play the tambourine with the kind of glee only a 5-year-old could bring to percussion. Ethan had just begun to believe the worst was behind them when the letter came. It was anonymous. Folded cleanly. Left inside the mailbox without postage. No return address. The handwriting was scratchy, rushed. "You think you've won, but you're just holding what I lost. Blood remembers. Soon, they will too." Ethan froze on the front steps, fingers tightening around the note. The wind rustled through the budding trees, but the chill that crawled up his spine came from within. He didn't tell the girls. He couldn't, but he called Sharon immediately. Within an hour, Rick had reinstalled the home's security system, doubling the cameras, reinforcing every lock. A patrol car was requested to circle the block every hour through the night. "We don't have proof it's Logan," Sharon said, reviewing the letter with a scowl, "but it reads like him, or someone sent by him." "He's still in custody," Ethan said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Right?" Sharon looked uneasy. "He was transferred last week. Minimum security. Behavioral program. He may be eligible for parole under supervision next month." Ethan slammed his hand on the kitchen table. "He threatened my girls. How does that not count? They have rules, Ethan. And he knows how to work them." That night, Ethan sat outside the girls' rooms longer than usual. He watched the hallway lights flicker softly, a guardian against the dark. The next day, he met with Carla. "Should I tell them?" he asked. "Prepare them?" Carla considered. "Anna is perceptive. If you don't say something, she'll feel the change in you anyway. And when kids fill in the blanks themselves, it's always worse." That evening, after dinner, Ethan sat with Anna on the front stoop, wrapped in a shared blanket. The sun had dipped low, painting the brownstone in golden light. "I need to talk to you about something," he said. She looked up immediately, alert. "It's about your father." Her eyes didn't change, but he could see the muscles in her shoulders stiffen. "He may try to reach out. We're doing everything to make sure that doesn't happen, but I want you to be prepared. You did nothing wrong. You didn't bring this back. I just want you to know if anything happens. If you see anything or feel unsafe in any way, you come to me, no matter what." Anna was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Do you think he's changed?" Ethan exhaled. "I think some people pretend to change better than others. But real change, it takes truth. He's never told the truth. Not to you, not to me." Anna nodded slowly. "If he comes near Emmy, I won't be quiet." Ethan hugged her tightly. "You don't have to be quiet. You have a voice now. You're never alone in this." Days passed. The note remained an echo, not a bomb. But Ethan never left the girls unattended. He began walking them all the way to the classroom door, watching every hallway, every face. He trained Rick on school pickup and had the principal briefed on the situation. Then came a Tuesday afternoon that shattered the stillness. Ethan arrived for pickup. The school's receptionist looked up, startled. "Oh, I thought you already got them." "What?" Ethan said sharply. "A man was here earlier, said he was Anna's uncle. He signed the early dismissal form. The girls left 20 minutes ago." Ethan's body surged with panic. "Call the police, now." He dialed Sharon and Rick as he sprinted from the building. Street cameras, traffic lights, witnesses. Every contact was activated within minutes. But then, just as Ethan reached his car, a message pinged on his phone. A photo. Anna and Emmy, sitting in what looked like the back seat of a car. They looked confused but unharmed. "If you want to see them again, come alone. Bring no cops. 8 p.m. East Warehouse, Pier 17. Rick's voice crackled through the line. "We've traced the plate in the photo. It's a rental. Paid in cash." "I'm going," Ethan said. "We should go with you." "Number. I can't risk them hurting the girls. I'll wear a wire. You follow once I give the signal." Sharon cursed softly but agreed. 5-minute delay, max. If you don't come out, we're going in. At exactly 8 p.m., Ethan arrived at the dark warehouse. It loomed at the edge of the East River, windows broken, old shipping crates stacked like forgotten bones. He stepped inside, heart pounding, and there, across the empty floor, stood Logan. Older, gaunter, but with eyes that hadn't changed at all. Anna and Emmy sat tied together behind him, unharmed but wide-eyed. Logan spread his arms. "I told you, Ethan. You never deserved them." Ethan stepped forward. "Then untie them. Let's talk." Logan's grin was bitter. "Always the hero. Always playing the savior. You think love makes you righteous? You don't know what real pain is." Ethan kept moving. "You're not taking them again. You never will." Just as Logan raised a hand, something behind his back, glinting under the dim lights, Ethan gave the signal. A subtle hand tap against his chest. Rick and the backup team burst in seconds later, shouting commands. Logan tried to run, but this time, no one let him get away. The warehouse echoed with chaos shouts, commands, boots pounding across concrete. Logan darted toward the back exit, but Rick tackled him with full force, slamming him to the ground with a thud that silenced the room. Officers swarmed, handcuffs clicked, and Logan screamed as they dragged him upright. "You think this is the end?" he spat at Ethan. "They'll never be yours. You're just a replacement." But the venom in his voice couldn't hide the defeat in his eyes. He was finished. Ethan ran to the girls, falling to his knees beside them. "You're safe now," he whispered, untying the cords around their wrists. Emmy threw herself into his arms, sobbing against his chest. Anna clutched his sleeve, shaking, her voice barely a whisper. "He said he'd never stop." Ethan cupped her face. "He just did." Paramedics arrived, checking the girls for injuries. Aside from a few bruises, they were unharmed. Anna refused the stretcher. "I just want to go home." Ethan carried Emmy out into the night, Anna walking beside him, fingers wrapped tightly around his hand. Outside, blue and red lights painted the river's surface. Sharon met them at the perimeter, wrapping both girls in emergency blankets. "They'll press charges on at least 4 counts, she said. Kidnapping, violation of the restraining order, assault with intent that won't get out again. Ethan nodded, but he wasn't thinking about Logan anymore. He was thinking about the small breaths against his chest. About the family that chose each other over fear. Back home, The brownstone was quiet. Rick had installed new locks while they were gone. Carla sat on the couch, waiting, eyes filled with relief. "They're okay," Ethan told her. "They're okay." Emmy was asleep before he even got her coat off. Anna sat at the kitchen table, sipping warm tea, wrapped in a blanket. Ethan sat across from her. She stared at the steam rising from the cup. "He still scares me," she said. "It's okay to be scared," Ethan replied. "But fear doesn't own you anymore. He doesn't get to be in your story unless you let him." She looked at him, eyes heavy. "I don't want him to be part of my story at all." "Then he's not," Ethan said. "He's done, and we're moving forward." Days passed. The trial loomed, but the worst of the storm had passed. Ethan testified, calm and firm. Anna did not have to take the stand, thanks to a recorded deposition that Sharon coordinated gently behind the scenes. Emmy resumed school within a week. Anna returned a bit later, but stronger than before. She joined a writing club. Her first story was titled, "The Girl Who Changed Her Name." It won first place. Months later, in June, the family stood at the podium at the city's Family Advocacy Gala. Ethan accepted an award for guardianship excellence, a title he laughed about for days. "I don't feel excellent," he joked to Sharon. "I feel exhausted." But that night, in front of a crowd of strangers and friends, Anna spoke again. Just 3 minutes. No notes. Just truth. "There are stories where people rescue you. But better are the ones where someone stays." Ethan stayed. "And because of him, I get to write my own story now." The room rose to their feet. Later that summer, they took a trip to the coast. Just the three of them. No reporters, no lawyers, no courtrooms. Just wind, waves, and sun. They built sandcastles. Emmy chased seagulls. Anna collected shells. And Ethan he just watched them, memorizing the peace etched on their faces. On the final night, they sat on the porch of a rented cottage as the sun dipped below the ocean. Emmy curled on Ethan's lap, half asleep. Anna leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you ever miss your old life?" she asked. He thought about it. The boardrooms, the suits, the silence. "No," he said honestly. "Because I didn't know what living really meant until you two." Anna smiled. "I'm glad you found us." Ethan chuckled. "I think you found me." Ugh. That night, as the stars appeared one by one, Ethan wrote the final entry in the notebook he'd kept since the beginning. It read, "They came into my life like whispers. Now, they are my world. This isn't the story I thought I'd tell, but it's the one I was made for. Not of loss, but of love. Not of rescue, but of belonging. And it ends not with goodbye, but with a door left open. For hope. For healing. For home." The girls fell asleep listening to the waves, safe and warm. And Ethan Brooks, once just a man with a quiet past, now stood tall father, protector, survivor. Home wasn't where he came from. It was who he came with. The story teaches us that true family is not defined by blood, but by love, sacrifice, and unwavering presence. It reminds us that healing takes time, and sometimes, the greatest heroes are the ones who simply choose to stay when others walk away. In a world where injustice can be loud and love can feel fleeting, the quiet strength of loyalty, compassion, and chosen connection can rebuild even the most broken lives.